To talk little is natural. High winds do not last all morning. Heavy rain does not last all day. Why is this? Heaven and earth. If heaven and earth cannot make things eternal, how is it possible for man? He who follows the Tao is at one with the Tao. He who is virtuous experiences virtue. He who loses the way is lost. When you are at one with the Tao welcomes you. When you are at one with virtue, the virtue is always there. When you are at one with loss, the loss is experienced willingly. He who does not trust enough will not be trusted. Chapter 23 of the Tao Te Ching says an awful lot with just a few lines, from the benefits of talking less, to virtue, to becoming one with loss. And although I wish I had time to break down the whole chapter, I'm just going to focus on one theme for today: the art of giving up everything. To get an idea of what is meant by this, let's take a second and break down something that is said in the last part of the chapter. When you are at one with loss, the loss is experienced willingly. This part can be easy to skip over with everything else that is being said in the chapter. But if we miss this, we miss what is, in my opinion, one of the real gems of what is being said. Throughout the rest of the chapter, we are told about being one with the Tao, which is an obvious advantage, and then we are told to be one with virtue, which is also good. But then Lao Tzu talks about being one with loss. Now, this is one of those parts of the Tao Te Ching that will read a little bit differently depending on whose translation you're using. Some translations interpret this part in a way where becoming one with loss is a bad thing, but some translations show it as a good thing. This is why it is helpful to read multiple translations of the Tao Te Ching side by side. This is also why I do not recommend any one translation as the best one, because I find that different translations seem to call to me depending on which chapter I'm reading. Often, I will like how one translation renders one chapter, but for another chapter I will prefer a different translation. As far as becoming one with loss, I found one translation that rendered this line as, "Those who are one with deprivation are deprived of deprivation." I found this really interesting. That's a statement you can really chew on for a bit. To me, it seemed to teach a truth that I've been taught in many areas of my life, that our willingness to give up that which we want often renders the actual giving up of that thing unnecessary, while our stubborn unwillingness to give up that same thing is often met with demands to give up even more of it. The person who obstinately withholds things from the universe is usually required to give up more and more. The person who willingly offers all that he or she has is often allowed to keep it, because he or she understands that it's not really theirs anyway. This is true of our time, money, possessions, relationships, our comfort, our happiness, really anything that we might call ours. The truth of the matter is that none of these things that we call ours are really ours at all. Everything we have has been given to us and could be taken away at any time, and we'd be completely powerless to prevent it. The things which we make with our hands are only possible because we were given the materials to make them by the earth. When we have been long gone, these things will return back to the elements that gave them birth. To assert that we can lay some kind of ownership to materials, land, or time that was here before we were, will exist long after we are gone, and of which we are powerless to create or destroy even the tiniest particle, must sound frankly hilarious to the Tao's perspective. If you question this notion for even a minute, it becomes apparent how silly it is. Nothing that we have is ours. Everything we use or work with has been borrowed to us as a temporary stewardship and will be taken from us at some point. Therefore, to desperately hold on to things that were never ours in the first place is complete nonsense, and the universe will not rest until it has taught us differently. Therefore, the things which we hold on to are the things which we are most often required to give up. The more we try to protect our time, the more demands will be made on it. The more desperately we hoard our money, the more it will start to slip through our fingers. I'm not advocating that we all go out tomorrow and get rid of all of our possessions, but I am advocating that we come to live in a state of mind where we could do this if we were called upon to do so. Becoming one with loss means to resign yourself completely to losing and to make peace with it. This is a philosophy which demands a bit more than just try to meditate every so often. But any philosophy which demanded no more than occasional meditation would not be able to deliver the peace that comes from being truly one with all things. The only way to attain this peace is to become one with the Tao, the way, the higher force of the universe. And to do this, we need to become one with loss. The most miserable people I think I've ever met were those who were obsessed with defending the little comforts and niceties that they felt were their rights and their just deserts. These people were in a state of mind that can only lead to misery, because as soon as you make these sort of claims, the universe will begin to harass you on all sides, making demands that increasingly agitate these claims until you either go insane or give them up completely. If this is the case, aren't we so much better off just to give them up from the start? If we examine ourselves and find ourselves holding on to ownership or claims on anything, we can start the work of surrendering these things to the universe one by one, over and over again if need be, until we are truly at one with loss, so that we can be truly at one with Tao. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow for chapter 24. Peace and blessings.